Congress, or the legislative branch, what do? They make up the laws. The laws they establish create the national policy. This is a big part of it because a plan of action designed to achieve a certain goal, they are responsible for kind of carrying out how we as a nation run our government. Members of Congress do have a lot of responsibilities, and they have these responsibilities for a lot of different groups. We're going to get into these. One of them being local needs, the other being national needs. They also have to kind of hold responsibilities to their political party. What are their political party's ideals? Remember, we went through this earlier in the year. They also have to answer to interest groups. Interest groups can be anything from teachers to firemen to oil workers to, guys that work in lumber. It's interest groups that kind of make the policies, whether we like it or not. And ultimately, one of the other things that they do is members must consider the views of these groups when deciding on a bill, as well as working on their own conscience and their own value system. So, answering to many groups. Let's get into local and national needs first. Constituents, key word here, constituents are the people members of Congress represent. For example, somebody got hired in for the region that I live in, which is Port Huron, Marysville, that kind of area. They're going to have to answer to the constituents of that area. The people that live in that area might have very different views or goals in Congress than what people living in Clinton Township would have. That's kind of one thing that you have to think about. Constituents are what the people that voted them in are looking to get done. The other part of this, nation. How is the nation affected by the laws that are passed? Which laws are supported by members of Congress, and how does this affect national interest? Somebody that's living around here in Metro Detroit might have a big tie to the big three as far as automotive production. Somebody that's living down in Georgia where they're making tables and chairs might not have that big of an interest into laws that affect automobile construction and assembly. Political party. Political party, part of this before I go on to the interest groups. Political party, you have your Republicans, you have your Democrats. That's the yellow sheet that we had at the beginning of the year that kind of spelled out the differences. Those are kind of something that can change, but all in all, for years and years and years, decades, generations, not much has changed from the Republican to Democratic side. Interest groups. These are groups of people who work together for similar interests or goals. Group of people who work together for similar interests or goals. What they do is they provide money to the congressman or woman to help them get reelected. Hey, you're our kind of person. Let's give you a little money to make sure that you have some advertising dollars to try to get reelected. And they also supply votes. Hey, you're our kind of person. Let me go around and try to rally up as many of my friends to vote for you too. Another interest groups, well, they hire lobbyists to convince members to support bills favorable to their interest group. So, if I am a student teacher who's not getting paid to come into the school and teach, I might put together a little group of lobbyists to go around and try to convince the congressmen and women to pass a bill that will allow student teachers to get some kind of financial subsidy. What do they have to do? They have to learn the issues. They have to be on the floor, which means that they have to be kind of out there finding out about the issues, talking about the issues, and they give speeches. Here's why I'm in favor of this. Here's why I'm not in favor of that. They vote on the bills. Hey, I like this. Let's vote on it. Let's try to make it into a law. Hey, I don't like this. Let me vote against it so we can make sure that it doesn't become a law. They have to attend meetings. What the heck are we doing as a country? What the heck are we doing on this bill? Let's figure it out. They prepare the bills. Somebody has to write it. That's them. Okay, actually it's probably their staff, but still, that's them. They have to study reports. Hey, if we're going to try to pass this bill saying that automobiles need to get better gas mileage and we need to force the big three into making more fuel-efficient cars. Why? What's the benefit of a more fuel-efficient car? I have to study these reports to tell me. I have to read letters. Hey, I got a whole bunch of letters from these people that are my constituents saying I should be in favor of this or that. Why? Why should I be in favor of it? What do they tell me that I need to know? Professional staffs. They do have a professional staff. They need to be able to teach them, train them, have them working on stuff also. This professional staff, they run the offices. They're the ones who probably open the letters so that the congressmen and women can read them. They're the ones who gather the reports together. They're the ones who really do most of the preparing of the bills and the typing of it and the grammatical corrections and everything else that go along. Handle requests. Now, as far as the home of Congress, well, they have a pretty nice swanky digs located in Washington, D.C. It's known as the Capitol Building. It's home of Congress. On one end of the Capitol, you have the house where the Senate is. On the other end, well, you have the house where the House of Representatives hang out. So what we're going to do next is we are going to go through and kind of explain the differences and similarities between the House of Representatives and the Senate and what their job is. One of the things I can tell you is that we will be using this general format with the House of Representatives on one side and the Senate on the other to help us create our little mock Congress. So going into the House of Representatives, there are 435 representatives elected on basis of population. Remember, this is kind of the idea of one house is based on population, the other house is going to be locked in with a certain amount of representatives available. The representatives, hey, there's that bell. That doesn't mean that the slideshow's over, it just means that I'm recording this before school, so there you go, folks. The representatives serve 2-year terms, and that's for all 435 representatives. That means every 2 years you get to vote whether or not you want them still keeping their jobs. There is no limit on how many terms one can serve in the House of Representatives. So if you're doing a great job, hey, you might have a 30-year gig, you just have to get reelected every 2 years. It is determined by a decennial census. Hey, that's every 10 years. We just had one, not too long ago, hey, at the beginning of this year, to figure out how many representatives the state of Michigan will have. Representatives divided among the states based on count. As of 2000 census, Michigan had 15 reps, and that was one less from the 1990 census. And that's because what? Well, people moved out of Michigan. Where did they move? Well, California picked up a representative, so we can kind of guess where that went. Congressional districts. Congressional districts are areas that the members represent. There are 435 districts in the United States, hence why there's 435 representatives. Each has about 575,000 people in them, and boundaries are determined by legislators. Gerrymandering, this is a term that you'll need to know, so I'll say it again, gerrymandering is when the political party in the state draw congressional district boundaries to favor that party. Here in the state of Michigan, they're probably going to do that this year because it's a good time to do it. The Senate. As for the Senate, there are 100 senators. That means everybody's vote is 1/100th of the vote. There's 2 from each state. Carl Levin is one of our senators here in the state of Michigan, as is Debbie Stabenow, however you want to say it. I probably said it wrong, but that's okay because I didn't vote for her. Ha-ha. Each senator represents the entire state, and they serve for 6 years, and the terms overlap, so only 1/3 of the Senate is up for re-election every 2 years. Requirements and salary. House of Representatives, you have to be 25 years old, you have to be a citizen for 7 years, and you must live in the state that you're representing. For the Senate, you have to be 30 years or older, citizen for 9 years, and you must live in that state. As for salary, well, your base salary is $167,999 a year. Not bad. There's a $50,000 travel allowance, so you can kind of get up and go where you need to, I guess, secure things that are good for your state or your district. Congressional offices in D.C. and the state district are provided to you, as are staff salaries, so that you can provide money for those people that are working for you, reading letters and preparing bills. And franking privileges. That's mail, folks. Means that all your mail is paid for as long as you're sending it out of the congressional mailbox.